Rob Johnson, in for Steve Cochran, and it's great to have you all with us. I feel like I want to just be a little calmer. This music is calming me. I could almost, meditate.
All right. Well, Rob, we were just talking about practicing good mental health, and we know good mental health, good well-being are essential in today's world in every aspect of our life. So here to help us out, and here to help us start healing ourselves from the inside is psychotherapist, somatic experience practitioner, licensed body worker, educator, Amy Nicholson. Amy, thank you for joining us on the show. And by the way, what are all those initials after your name?
Good morning, Jane. Thank you so much for having me. All those initials after my name are my credentials.
There's a lot of them. There's like MS, SEP, LPT, LMT. Amy, we all have stress in our lives. Everyone, I'm stress-free. No, you're not stress-free. Everyone has stress. A lot of people just I'm going to breathe through it, or I'm going to do yoga, or some people do absolutely nothing at all. They just live with it. But what we may not know, and that you do know, is that stress can be directly correlated and connected to our nervous system. How is stress in the nervous system connected?
Thanks, Jane. So, what can happen, our nervous system, our ability to process stress is directly correlated with our nervous system capacity. And so a healthy nervous system has the ability to find natural regulation. But what can happen is, because stress is part of our modern world, when there's too much, or if it happens too soon or too fast, the body has a problem processing it. And what can happen is it can build up in the system, which then impacts our mental health and many symptoms of mental imbalance, such as anxiety, for example, depression. And so it's really important to understand what's happening in your nervous system. Go ahead.
So you're saying stress can get stuck in our bodies, and the way to get it unstuck is by working with our nervous system. Can we coach our nervous system? I love my nervous system, but can I coach it to get the stress out?
Yeah. So essentially, right, stress is any situation that requires stress or adaptation, right? So there's good stresses, there's bad stresses, and when the nervous system is functioning, it has this natural ability to recalibrate and settle. But what can happen is, if there are things if there's too many stressors, what happens is there's a build up in the system, and it's called allostatic load. And this is a scientific term to describe this buildup of stress in the system, which then impacts our physical health and our mental health. And yes, there are things that you can do, which you mentioned, like yoga, meditation. But there's also specific somatic modalities, such as somatic experiencing and other types of somatic psychotherapy, which can help process that stress through the body. Even more, acupuncture is also an incredible modality for helping process that allostatic load.
So I want you to explain what a somatic healing is. What does that mean? And does everyone need that, or can people simply breathe or do meditation? Because I feel like somatic healing would be the next step.
Yeah, so I think it just depends on what your symptoms are. So I feel like, for example, I'm a somatic psychotherapist. I specialize in working with anxiety and PTSD and complex trauma, right? So not everyone has complex trauma, but everyone has stress, okay? Even if it's good stress. So the thing is, it depends on what your symptoms are and what you're looking for. Maybe yoga or a meditation class would be somatic therapies that you could integrate into your life in order to manage stress. But if you have symptoms of anxiety or PTSD or chronic migraines, things like that, those are symptoms that you have a buildup of this allostatic load. And that's where I would recommend seeking out a somatic experiencing practitioner, for example, or a sensory motor psychotherapist. These are specific types of somatic modalities that work specifically to help your body process the stress. So the thing is, what you're doing is you're working with the body's response to the stress rather than your mind. And so it's a very different way of processing it through the system.
Amy, this is Rob. I'm somebody that meditates. Hello. I'm somebody that meditates on a pretty regular basis. And I realize that some of these ideas about meditating, and when you're talking about somatic healing and things of that nature, and people are like, whoa, I don't know about that. But I can tell you that I have benefited immensely from, and I should meditate more than, I wish I could do it twice a day. It just makes my brain calm. When I come back, everything's just kind of slowed down and it's clear and I'm refreshed and all that sort of thing. What is it about this whole thing? Because I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, there's sort of a stigma around it. But to me, there's not a stigma. I'm like, because I'm sitting here on the radio saying, hey, I do this and it really helps me. I'm not saying it's going to help other people, but as you're sitting there looking for, sort of traditional ways of doing things, and then you're looking for things that can give you a boost or a benefit, I feel like what you're talking about today really fits that category.
Absolutely, Rob. And the thing is that sometimes meditation is hard for people that have a lot of allostatic load or stress built up in their nervous system, because when they go to sit down and breathe, it makes them feel more anxious. And so sometimes it's helpful to work with a somatic practitioner to get you to a place where your body feels safe enough to go inside and notice your breath. So meditation is incredible for people like yourself who have discovered the benefits and have the courage to sit and notice your breathing. But for some people, their internal world is a scary place because there might be pain in there from a long time ago of things that happened to them. And so it can be more activating and more stressful than calming. And so I think it's important to make that distinction, not to say that it's not accessible eventually for some people, but I also just want to give context to that because, sometimes people feel like there's something wrong with them when meditation doesn't work, And the thing is it definitely, it has specifically to do with how your nervous system is functioning. And so, yeah.
Yeah, you're just the best. I mean, there's so many areas to go in this conversation, Amy. But you've given us such great information and almost even a teaser to learn more. So if people want to work with you, learn more about what you do, because I know you teach classes. You don't have to you're in Madison, Wisconsin. You don't have to be there. But you host retreats. You can do other classes that are online. How do we find you? How do we learn more from Amy Nicholson?
Thanks, Jane. You can go to my website, which is amynicholson.co, not .com, .co. And I offer an 8-week nervous system regulation class. I do coaching one-on-one, and I also host retreats in Mexico and Peru that combine nervous system regulation with spiritual practice and consciousness.
I like it.
Your consciousness. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Amy. Have a great day. I'm going to start breathing now.
Yeah. Deep breaths.